Hello, Andrew here. Welcome to Lecture 9 of the Designing Digital Content in Youth Work module. This is going to be a very short lecture. We're just trying to close out there's completing and polishing a project and leading to showcasing and all the benefits that can come about that, mostly in a youth work context, So I just wanted to kind of touch on that. And then the second part of this lecture is going to be more of a practical where we look at different online platforms and how to or what type of looking at the projects we'd already built and putting them into an online showcase. Really, that's the idea, of which you will all be doing the same with your own pieces. So I'll put mine up first and show you how to do that really, and then we'll figure out getting you access to the accounts to do the same with your own pieces. Okay, so within this one, we just want to kind of talk about, it's mostly around the showcasing element and this kind of, it being important to kind of arrive at this point where, there's almost an acknowledgement, a broader acknowledgement outside of the group even, can be really beneficial to young people and create a lot of kind of, good lifelong memories about being involved in something and kind of define their interests in a lot of these things for life. So if we're looking at the importance of completion, polishing, critiquing work, just a few points towards that, where it's just to sum up your efforts, to sum of your efforts, to just see everything kind of combined and all that sort of stuff that had come from a brainstorm through any number of sort of good dynamic group dynamics, personal, interpersonal, kind of problems or conversations that I had around that, overcoming different problems with, technical issues, having to learn something, feeling like you're learning it the wrong way and having to go back and find out again, and getting more and more refined, all to the point that you want to see it come together. So again, to see this abstract expression realized with just something being kind of conjured out of a brainstorm, either one-to-one with a youth worker or with a group of people come together, is a pretty magical event. And this being a vital and important part of the whole process really. And again, this is a direct extensions of digital media, which will allow us to kind of be publishers and editors of our own work like this. So it's really interesting how you can deliver it to different types of audiences very quickly. And that's what we're going to really look at here. It's also to see an illustration of both time and application of yourself. Again, it's just very rewarding. And then to be some sort of summation of a learning of new skills, habits and workflow practices is all sort of, again, that's kind of like another abstraction that happens at the other end, where these sort of latent skills or things that have just been built up through routine or the application of oneself are only fully realized or understood thereafter when some sort of event or a marking of this has happened. And that can be just finishing something, having a round of applause and some sort of acknowledgement of it like that, and then having it kind of given to someone on a DVD or, put online like that for them to kind of look at over and over again. And this sort of, then it becomes really interesting of just how involving it has been for them, or how much of their time or their emotions or their memories it has used up, all being very, very interesting things. So within a youth work setting, again, if we want to put the youth worker hat on again, we're looking at that there's, just the having to go through different iterations and kind of, persevere in the face of problems, or, learning new skills or learning how to kind of articulate it, work with, negotiating boundaries, working with a team or whatever like that. All these things have helped to build, collective and individual resilience towards that as well, which is a phenomenal feat. Also developing the critical thinking that's attached to all this, where not only have young people began to decipher and like discern and, critically think about the media that they consume, but they've also now applied all those same sort of faculties to something that they're originating themselves, and that becoming the most constructive form of kind of criticism that you could have really around something that you're doing. And there's a certain level of self-awareness that can happen around that, which again is quite hard to discuss in relation to a particular project. But I do include it, and I do want to talk about it in terms of a youth work element, because it's important to kind of, I suppose the only reason I'm pointing all this stuff out, because it's important to make them clear to young people of just exactly what they've achieved, and that not being a singular sort of production of a digital artifact. It's all of these things combined, and the best way to speak about these to young people is in somewhat of a celebration of, like, you know, an achievement, a sense of achievement, and on that positive spin where all the stuff can go in a really warm way when you're discussing it. So this is why it's kind of vital at this stage for these things to be addressed. Likewise with developing articulation, expression, and abstract thinking, and all the confidence that it takes and that comes with doing that, and to be able to kind of share half considered thoughts and finish the other thoughts, and just for things to kind of allow for much more richer and involved conversations both amongst themselves and in speaking to youth workers or adults or whoever, that all that can be, again, really enriching. Young people, and mostly you can just develop different relationships with each other, you know, or you just have young people who would be technically minded or happy to sit in front of a computer all day, be it editing, writing something, or, you know, coming up with some code or something relating to a game, in environments with other people who'd be more outgoing, or, you know, a bit more irreverent about certain things, or just a bit more outspoken. And, you know, digital media and these types of projects allowing for those sorts of potential personality clashes really to come together and to support each other and to work together with each other to develop a really rich shared piece of a shared project with each other. And also it's a big thing, but for many this might be their first experience of seeing something through to a conclusion, you know, and that in itself is a very significant life event. Just to be able to achieve, to have that sense of achievement, is something really, really vital and important and interesting, and, you know, something that all youth workers would endeavour to give young people the the opportunity to have such a experience if they hadn't already had it in their lives. So in terms of showcasing the work, then we have this acknowledgement of the effort. It's also realizing work in a group environment with the peers, which is another important thing, that, you know, other people, be it family members or friends, can come to this as well, and it can explain a lot of, you know, those more abstract things of what young people have been doing with their time all along. Or, you know, if they hadn't been communicating this to their own family or outside of a group environment or the project that you've been working on, this allows for all that to kind of happen and for it to be extended. And again, for them to get that sort of other positive reinforcement from those other avenues as well, as a really vital and important and, really affirming thing. It also allows for the most constructive criticism of a project possible, which is after being completed, and everyone, you know, of course, the achievement is excellent and there's enough positivity around that. But then when you get out looking at the project, and if it's a film, say, seeing it on a big screen, or seeing it put under the scrutiny of other people playing it, if it's a game, or interacting with it, or listening to it, or dancing to it, if it's music, whatever, all those other things are an extra level of scrutiny put on a project, which can really help young people understand exactly what they've achieved and the different sorts of environments that work can then be showcased or presented within. And they're all kind of, again, vital sort of learning things about the traditional sort of, you know, creative and media outputs of where you can present or exhibit this work, or also just kind of, you know, that relating to, you know, friends and family and their sort of understanding of what you've done as well, being kind of really important learning. There's really important learning in there as well, I mean. So again, if we look at it within the youth work setting, we have the tools and skill sets to introduce to other young people, be it the peers or whoever, you know, mightn't be aware that this level of, like, you know, work is now possible within youth centres or amongst young people. we've also got the tools and skill sets for more advanced projects, which we discussed previously. Of all you'd really want to do once you've achieved one is to do it in a more advanced, sophisticated way, or to use certain tools in a different, more creative way. And this is where it gets all really intuitive and creative there straight away. And rather than having to start from 0, the project is now starting from 50, and it can go all the way up to 100 a lot quicker and get more advanced rather than having to do it for the first time. So this is kind of a vital part in terms of youth work, time management, project management there, where you begin to develop reference projects, workflows, shorthand kind of references, different workflows of how projects are done, and the templates for other young people and projects. And it just allows you to speak about these types of projects or endeavors in a really direct and dynamic way with either the same young people or different groups of young people going forward, because you have a lot of the work done. So you're not having to reinvent the wheel every time. You're just doing variations on it. And once you've got those templates and a workflow built for it, then the element of time and the kind of the time pressure of that is taken away a little bit. It's always there with each project, but it allows for more sophisticated work, really. That's all I really wanted to point to there, So in terms of showcasing work online, as I said, I've always spoken of being like, everyone is now like an editor and a publisher simultaneously. So that's kind of an interesting, empowering position to be in, but also a little bit daunting in terms of there comes with some responsibilities with that. So through youth work and digital media coming out, through digital media projects coming through youth centres with groups of young people, is the safest, probably most interesting way to venture into these online sort of communities and different sort of platforms that you'd have things shared on. And to do it in that sort of with that awareness of it being safe and secure and being considered is a big thing really to have with it. So you're kind of extending it in that direction, but also just to have it is so that, people can have it from these ubiquitous devices at the end of their phone, or they can bring it up in conversation with their friends or peers or whatever like that. Is a really interesting thing to present young people with their own originated work like that. So within that, we have these sort of platforms, be it from social media, video, audio, and image-based technologies. I just wanted to flag a few of them there. And we're just going to pick on a few of them for the practical of this, where I looked at the web-based platforms, and we're going to look at, just issues around security, accessibility criteria around that. How easy to comment, share, edit, and present the work is it? And brand and redesigning it for the site. So, these other elements, which again are a little bit more advanced and can just help a youth worker to kind of facilitate or curate this type of work for best practice, community of practice work, but also just for, young people to really sort of validate what they've done and to give it that extra sort of, to give it that extra extension really, where it can start to speak for itself outside of time per 2-hour, 3-hour sessions you might have with young people every week or whatever like that, and that becoming a vital virtual youth work tool as such. So the next lecture is the practical for that, and then the next lecture, is in lecture 10, will be individual support examples for any questions. I'm going to hold on publishing this one until I hear back from you about specific problems, queries, or anything I can help or support you with any of the the projects or the technologies that are the apps or whatever technologies you're having to use for your individual projects. And I'd just like to present them back to the broader group then, just to, show them like specific examples being worked through as we speak. So please email me with any problems that you're having or any questions you have around all that's been discussed in this module so far, because it's going to assist me in building the last lecture then, which will be really direct examples of me helping you kind of troubleshoot problems you may be having with your own projects, of which I hope there are few, but it's always the case. So I'll see you in the next lecture. Any questions in between, please send me an email and I'll speak to you soon. Okay, thanks, bye.